An unprecedented case of judicial corruption is unfolding in Pennsylvania. Several hundred families have filed a class-action lawsuit against two former judges who've pleaded guilty to taking bribes in return for placing youths in privately owned jails. Judges Mark Ciavarella and Michael Conahan are said to have received $2.6 million for ensuring that juvenile suspects were jailed in prisons operated by the companies Pennsylvania Child Care and a sister company, Western Pennsylvania Child Care. Some of the young people were jailed over the objections of their probation officers. An estimated 5,000 juveniles have been sentenced by Ciavarella since the scheme started in 2002. In addition to the jailing of the youths, the judges also admitted to helping, quote, facilitate the construction of private jails. The U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Pennsylvania, Martin Carlson, unveiled the charges last month.
These payments were made to the judges, it is alleged, in return for discretionary acts by the judges favoring these businesses, acts relating to the construction, expansion, operation of these juvenile facilities, and acts relating to the placement of juveniles in these facilities.
On Thursday, Judges Ciavarella and Conahan entered guilty pleas on charges of wire fraud and income tax fraud. They're currently free on a $1 million bail bond pending sentencing. Their plea agreements call for jail sentences of more than 7 years. No charges have been filed against the private prisons that paid the bribes. Pennsylvania's Supreme Court has appointed an outside judge review all the cases tried by Ciavarella and Conahan. But the case has prompted calls for broader reforms of the juvenile justice system in Pennsylvania nationwide. We're joined now by two of the thousands of youths jailed by the corrupt judges. On the line with us from Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18-year-old Jamie Quinn is with us. She spent more than 11 months in a privately run juvenile prison camp after being sentenced by Judge Mark Ciavarella as a first-time offender. Also on the line, the nearby town of Wilkes-Barre, is 22-year-old Kruger, another first-time offender. He spent more than 4 months in a privately run prison, juvenile prison camp, after also being sentenced by Judge Ciavarella. And joining us in a studio in Philadelphia is Bob Schwartz. He's a co-founder and executive director of the Juvenile Law Center, which helped expose the corrupt judges and is now involved in the class action suit brought on behalf of the jailed youth's families. We asked PA Child Care, the main private jail company linked to the Bribes, to come on the broadcast. We were directed to an attorney who didn't respond to our request. Bob Schwartz, let's start with you. When did all this begin to be revealed? How did it all happen?
Thanks, Amy, and thanks for having Kurt, Jamie, and me on your show. This has been going on, we believe, in Luzerne County since 2003. It came to Juvenile Law Center's attention a couple of years ago when we heard from the mother of one of the girls whom we ended up representing, a young woman named Hillary Transu, who was brought into court, found guilty, sent away for a internet parody of an assistant principal at her high school. Her mother found us, and when we were able to bring a habeas corpus petition on Hillary's behalf, she told our attorneys that she wasn't the only one who had been locked up by Judge Ciavarella, that there were lots of other kids in the same situation. That was a couple of years ago, and we began investigating and found that Luzerne County had half of the waivers of counsel in Pennsylvania, of all the cases in which lawyers were waived by young people in juvenile court. Hillary had, unknown to her, signed a paper, her mother had signed a paper giving up her right to a lawyer. That made the 90-second hearing that she had in front of Judge Ciavarella pretty much of a kangaroo court. So she was sent away, we investigated, and last year, about a year ago, brought a petition before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court asking them to take a look at all of the cases in which kids were tried and adjudicated delinquent, and many sent away without a lawyer. We thought that was the problem. That turned out to be the tip of the iceberg. When we filed, it turned out that the FBI began its investigation and found the corruption that you spoke about at the top of this segment.
And just very briefly, Hillary, explain what she did, a cartoon?
She had done I think a MySpace parody of an assistant principal, a paragraph or two with internet humor of adolescent variety, finishing by saying, I hope that Mrs. Smith or Jones has a sense of humor. It turned out that the assistant principal didn't, we gather at least, complain to the police, who filed a harassment petition against Hillary. This is the kind of case, like Kurt's and like Jamie's, that never should have been in court in the first place, let alone get to a trial. Juvenile court is not designed for this kind of adolescent misbehavior. The cases should have been diverted entirely. Instead, Hillary and Kurt and Jamie and thousands of others were used by the court for profit, while many people over many years stood by watching.
I want to go to Jamie Quinn right now. Jamie, welcome to Democracy Now!
Thank you.
It's good to have you with us. Are you speaking to us from your house?
Yes.
So you were in jail for almost a year. Where were you imprisoned? What was the name of this juvenile prison camp?
Well, first I was told that I was only going to be at PA childcare for up to 3 days. I was there for a week and then got sent to a military boot camp called Vision Quest in Quincy Township. It's about an hour and a half away. And I spent most of my time there. And then I got FTA'd from there and sent back to PA childcare.
And FTA'd means?
Failure to adjust.
Uh-huh.
And then I got sent back to PA childcare, was there for about 2 weeks because they said they couldn't find a bed for me and they didn't know where to place me. And then they went to a step-down program. They told me I needed to go there in order to be able to go back into the community, and I went to Wilkes-Barre, a place in Wilkes-Barre which is called Bridgeview.
Now, just step back for a second, Jamie. Tell us why you were convicted.
Well, I was about 14 years old, and I got into an argument with one of my friends, and all that happened was just a basic fight. She slapped me in the face, and I did the same thing back. There was no marks, no witnesses, nothing. It was just her word against my word. My only charges were simple assault and harassment, and I didn't even know that charges were pressed against me until I had to go down to the intake and probation and fill out a whole bunch of paperwork.
Wait, so that is what you went to jail for almost a year for?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 14, turning 15, and my court hearing was December 20th, 3 days before my birthday.
We're going to go to break, then we're going to come back and we're going to hear Kurt's story, Kurt Kruger, who was also imprisoned by one of these corrupt judges for more than 4 months. This is Democracy Now! We'll be back in a minute. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We're talking about the case of 2 judges who have pled guilty to receiving $2.6 million in return for placing youths in privately owned jails. Today we're speaking with 2 of those youths. Jamie Quinn just told us her story. We now turn to Kurt Kruger. Kurt, tell us how you ended up in one of these privately run juvenile prison camps for more than 4 months. How did you get there?
Well, first off, thank you for having us. Basically, I was with a girl who was shoplifting DVDs from a Walmart, local Walmart, and we were caught, and I was considered the lookout. And it was basically just stupid kid stuff. The police came to the Walmart and then called our parents. A week after this happened at Walmart, they sent us letters that we were to appear in the probation office for interviews so they could decide court dates. And I then, after that interview, moved out of my father's house because of personal problems. And at some point, a a appearance in court did come to my house. A letter did come to my house, but I had no contact with my father, so I had no idea. The only idea I had of anything that was going on was that the girl who I was with, who was actually the one shoplifting, never received a letter of a court appearance or anything, never heard anything else about the case. So I thought that it was done and over with. I was living with a friend for a while, and I started going to school in the fall. I was 18 at the time when I started going to school. I was 17 when the